Hey guys, Steven here. What you're about to watch is a video I recorded for my Trade Your Edge group right after the Memorial Day weekend. I dive into what a trend day looks like because that's what we had on Tuesday, how I approach that type of setup, and why these days are really tricky, especially if you're trying to trade against the move, which most traders do. I think you'll get a lot out of it, so let's jump into that video.
Hey guys, I hope everyone had a great 3-day weekend. Today I want to go over just a little bit what happened in the market today, and then I'll probably put out another couple of videos this week, maybe short ones. We will not meet tomorrow, the 28th, so we won't have our regular Zoom call tomorrow. Just a reminder. The important thing that happens tomorrow is NVIDIA earnings. And that's going to kind of color the market for the rest of the week. Obviously, today we were higher at the beginning of the day on a couple of things. One was the Trump saying that tariffs wouldn't be 50% on Europe until July and giving a reprieve from the 50% tariffs that were announced last week. I don't know how many times we're going to believe 1,000,000% tariffs, and 2 or 3 days later it's, oh yeah, no tariffs, we're just going to pause. So I don't know how much longer the market's going to react to those kind of statements, or at least react as strongly as it did last week when those tariffs were announced. I kind of get the feeling that the not it's not crashing, but the pullbacks that we have on the tariff announcements are going to start sort of losing their bite a little bit. So anyhow, that's one thing. The other piece was Japan said they would be issuing fewer long-term bonds. So the bond market is obviously global, and when you get a large player issuing fewer long-term bonds, what you end up getting is lower interest rates. So that drove rates lower a little bit. So we had those two pieces of good news this morning, and thus the gap up. And I'll show you, this is the gap, right? This was the gap up. I want to concentrate on sort of intraday a little bit and show you what I did. There wasn't a ton of trading to be done, but as I said in the Discord around 11:30 today, we were in a trend day. We were in the middle of a trend day, and my thought was that we could possibly get up to 523. And the reason is that was the high on Wednesday of last week. It's the most recent high in the market. It's 523. So that was really my target, because we didn't have anything between this sort of 516 level and 523. So I figured we would work our way toward that. Here's what I did as the day was moving forward. I had put VWAP on my chart, the volume weighted average price. And what I usually do is make VWAP white on my chart. And then the inputs are the two bands. When you get a move like this, VWAP and I'll hit play and kind of show the run as it's going. Regular VWAP becomes sort of less and less important as you're trending. It's harder to use it for a pullback. So what I did, and what I usually do, is when we have a breakout, like a clear break move that looks like it's the beginning of a possible trend day, and I can take this off later in the day, so it's not a big deal, but I go to the anchored VWAP and put that on the breakout candle. So that gives me a better idea of where the market is going to possibly pull back to. And I'm just going to hide regular VWAP and leave it on the anchored VWAP on. Then we basically trended higher for a lot of the day. Like I said, there wasn't a ton to do. If you wanted to do green takes red, that worked pretty well. Even if we were kind of dipping below and above the 20. The red is the 20. And I have this going at 3 times speed. We had a little breakout, but not really, again, a scalp type play. The problem that we run into as far as doing, power bars off the 20 is you can only move up so much during the day. And we were already up over 2% at this point. So it's hard to keep going. And this is, again, one of the hardest types of days that I have found that traders have a problem with. Most people end up losing money intraday. And we've talked about this before. I did a Zoom call on this in June of last year. And most people lose money on this type of day because what they do is try to go counter trend the entire day. So I did a Zoom call. It's in the membership platform around trend days and how to play a trend day. So again, for most people, I would recommend stepping away if you see a trend day, because it's like I said, I found it very hard to have traders kind of stick to just holding the trend because you're wanting to trade. And you see we just kept trending and trending and trending higher, but it wasn't fast, right? There's nothing quick about this trend. It's very slow and it's tough to do anything except, as I said in the video, just hold on and not do anything, which is anathema to most traders. But there was a setup. This again was a nice firing off the 20. This isn't the setup I'm going to talk about. This was a nice firing off the 20, again the red line, but you didn't get the 3 push follow through because we were already trending and already up so much. Here comes the setup though that I wanted to show you, the reversal. I mentioned this in the Discord as it was taking place, and I'll move this down and I'll slow it down in just a second. Was here. This was the setup. So we had, a flattening, a little bit of a flattening of the trend. It's still moving higher, but we slowed down enough to finally break below the 20. And again, this is not going to be a great trade either because the market's so strong. But if you're looking to play counter trend, this is the best way that I know to do it in a trending market and on a trend day in the market. And then what happens, this setup, a fall below the 20, a return to the 20, again, the red line. And I said this in the Discord here, right around here, that a short setup was possible here. And what I was looking at was breakdown, return to the 20. And then I really wanted it to clear this 520.80 level. The low was 520.82 on this candle. And I'm going to make it even easier to see. This candle, I wanted it to clear to the downside. And then I wanted to have a target, and we were moving, the VWAP was moving toward this 520 level. And this is why I said in the Discord for those trading intraday, this was my target, 520. And that was just a move, again, back to VWAP, back to the anchored VWAP that I showed you, that I drew just a minute ago. We continued. You can see it wasn't, it wasn't a straight down move because, again, the market is so strong here. I'll slow it down just a touch. But, we bounced. It didn't look like we would go down. But look at what we did. We stayed under the 20 and never touched the 20, right? We bounced again and then bounced up. And this is where basically I thought the bottom had kind of been put in at that point as we kind of went back through the 20. But as you can see, immediately almost we fell to 520. So for me, this was where I stopped out in this range as we were bouncing, because it looked to me like we were forming a bottom basically. And again, the market was so strong. This was my one sort of counter trend trade, was, moving through this 580 level. Actually, I got short a little bit early around 521 and rode this down, then got, stopped out here. 520 was a good level. As I said in the Discord, that was my target. It was also, if I can make this now a little bit smaller, it was also a Fibonacci level. So there were a couple of reasons that I was looking at that 520. I'm going to draw in the lines sort of this way, and then I'll expand it back out in just a second. Okay, so here are our Fibonacci lines now that we had from the open to this high, and I was just kind of moving them, as the day went on. I would put in Fibonacci's and see where we were, but I didn't see a reversal pattern, so I wasn't looking to play the reversal. This is another reason I picked 520 as a target, right? It was the VWAP point, and it was also the 23.6% Fibonacci line, right? Your first pullback. And as I said, once you hit the top, your pullback is going to be 25% of the move. Is extremely common that we have that. So that was my target. That's why I chose 520 as a target. The day went on, we kind of bounced there, and you could have played long off of this. I actually did play a little bit long off of this. We went back, touched it again, put in basically a double bottom, and then popped higher. So that was the best trades that I saw during the day. And again, it's a tough day to trade when we're just in that trend, when we're just in a trend day, unless you're just going to buy and hold and just let it go. And then this would have been the spot, as this short setup came in. This would have been the spot if you got in around 11:30, when I said it looked like a trend day. That would have been the time to exit, right? That would have been a clear exit signal as this reversal pattern set up. So I hope that helps, and I hope everyone has a good Wednesday. And like I said, I'll put out a video or two this week still, since we're not meeting tomorrow. And I will talk to you guys soon. Look for those NVIDIA earnings, I think, after the close tomorrow, and we'll see what those have to do for the market. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.